is this wing section. Now, based on what we're putting together up here from simple logistics, the proximity of the tail section and the jet itself would seem to indicate that the plane was not all that high in the ground, or high in the air rather. And from the angle that you're looking at there, we can tell the impact appears the plane was coming from a northeasterly to southwesterly direction when it finally went down. Now, obviously, when you lose that tail section, you've lost your rudder, and the plane was totally out of control. So we don't know if it was heading this way, but at least it is facing in a southwesterly direction, which is facing directly toward Long Beach Airport. As we mentioned to you earlier, we're only about 6 or 7 miles from Long Beach, nowhere near LAX. Our pilot, Scotty, believes this is very abnormal for a jet to be in this flight pattern if it was in fact going to LAX. So there are many questions coming up here, and it appears just from the evidence we're seeing that perhaps, and this is certainly only speculation, but perhaps the Aeromexico jet was lower than anticipated or than usual, unless in fact it was heading toward Long Beach. Bill and Warren?
Dave Lopez, perhaps you can hear me.
Yes, I can,
it'll
Warren.
be the National Transportation Safety Board that will have ultimate authority for investigating this and determining who was responsible, what happened, and so on. Have you any indication as yet as to when they might arrive on the scene, or perhaps they already have?
I understand a few of them. You know, you and I have covered a lot of these crashes. You know, they always send an advance team out once they get word of it, and I think the advance team is here, but they are not ready to make any statement whatsoever. Right now, the main concern, at least as far as the authorities who are in charge here, is getting the area, excuse my back, but getting the area cleared off, because they want to start determining and digging through and just see if they can determine how many people, if any, and I emphasize if any, were in those homes. They are acting as though they are going to be doing that quite shortly. As far as the NTSB goes, I am told that representatives are here and they're starting to put together data. Jim made a comment. Let me just comment on that, if I may. I've lived in this area all my life, and jets are common flying over this neighborhood. I mean, it is part of the pattern when they start to land. I don't know if they should be over this particular neighborhood, but I do know many parts of Cerritos. In fact, I flew out of Long Beach just last week, and I remember seeing a lot of these spots, the Cerritos shopping mall, everything. So I don't know whether anybody was off pattern or not, but it is very common to see jets flying over this neighborhood. It's just part of the landing pattern into LAX.
David, let's take another look at that. Here's an aerial of the small plane. It was not, incidentally, a Cessna. It was a Piper Tomahawk.
All right.
And the wings, as you can see, are fairly well intact. They're certainly attached to the main body of the fuselage.
Well, then that would discredit the one witness who told one of our crews that he saw the wings fly, unless he referred to the wings of the Aeromexico.
Well, now, take a look at that field, too. We were told earlier that it might even have been part of a grassy area around a school. It is, in fact, a place called Heritage Park in Cerritos, and there was a Little League game going on that very field at the time of the crash of this small plane we and a number of people on the ground are looking at right now. You talk about good fortune and what might have been.
Extraordinary.
A Little League game with all those youngsters out there.
And that shopping mall, Bill, I don't know if you're familiar with the Cerritos shopping mall. I mean, it is a huge shopping mall.
I can add to that.
Jim, I hope you will add to it, but I also wanted to ask you, you said that there was a possibility that somebody might have seen the wing from the larger plane, not the smaller one, and have been confused about that. Have you seen a big enough piece from that larger jet to lead you to believe that that kind of confusion could have really occurred, or is there really that much left of it?
Well, Warren, as you know, a tail section, what it looks like on the stabilizer, I believe they're called the stabilizer wings, the lateral wings there, they appear to be intact. And if you take a look at that and look down at this private plane, the configuration is similar. So that it is possible for somebody who is obviously reacting to a shocking situation, who is not aware of what is going on, it certainly appears more than possible that they could have mistaken the two. As far as the Little League game is concerned, certainly from up here we don't know that was occurring, but I can tell you that we can see the backstop, and it appears the private plane is laying, maybe 5 feet beyond first base. It's
Jim,
5 feet into right field.
Jim, is that far from the elementary school, the Cerritos Elementary School that you have been flying over? They tell me there's an elementary school not far from where part of the plane landed as well.
And
from
Cerritos.
up here, it's difficult to say exactly what is the elementary school or not. There are many buildings right to the west of the place of impact for the small plane, and there's another building. And it is, my photographer, Joe Turner, says looking through his viewfinder, he can tell that is the elementary school.
All right.
So, in fact, it's about 20 yards inside the parking lot. Then I'd say there's about 40 yards across the parking lot to the building proper itself.
Can you tell from where you are, Jim, what it is that is being done around the plane? Is there any attempt to remove the remains of the people who are on board? Is that what's happening, or has that been done? Are they examining it in terms of analyzing the wreckage to try to figure out what happened?
At this point, Warren, it appears they're simply analyzing the wreckage. This is purely conjecture, but from the amount of activity that's around there now, and from experience with crime scenes, well, let me check that, because Joe Turner, again, looking through his viewfinder, is now saying that he can see the bodies inside the plane. He's saying the bodies are inside the plane. There is a blue van that is parked right near the plane, which very possibly could be a coroner's van.
All right, thank you both, Jim Forbes in Chopper 2 and Dave Lopez on the scene of this terrible, terrible tragedy in Cerritos. Recapping once again, Aeromexico Flight 498, all persons aboard, 54 of them, we believe, are dead at this time. A Piper Tomahawk with 3 people aboard, all of those we also believe to be dead, collided in the air, apparently over Cerritos, and dropped to the ground, as you have seen in the aftermath, as we have been covering it here for the last few minutes. The relatives of all of the passengers on board the plane, or anyone who has a legitimate question to ask, are advised to report to the first-class lounge of Aeromexico. That is upstairs at Los Angeles International Airport.
And we'll be back with more information as we obtain it, whatever details and late developments come up. In the Channel 2 newsroom, for Warren Olney, Bill Stout.